I'm embarrassed to say that I started this project on the 2nd of June and today it is the 5th of September.
Tell me why I'm dancing here alone. Oh, oh. Look my way, please get off your phone. Ooh, I need you now. Can't do without. So are you in or are you out? Are you out?
In regards to planting this up, I'm going to leave it for now and just let the dirt settle, and then I think I'll put a couple of bags of Veggies on top of this to give it some nutrients before we do any planting, and just let the neighbours get used to what this new change is. So this will be a work in progress and I'll get the kids involved definitely when we start doing some plantings in here. Hopefully this all works out, and I've made sure that everything is to the specifications of the council. So yeah, we'll see how it turns out when it's all finished. I'm going to start getting into this again because I think it's time. We're well and truly spring now. The weather's warming up. We've got some beautiful 20-degree days ahead of us. So plan of attack is this side needs to be extended. It's a little bit hard to see in the bright light, but we need to extend this by about 30-40 centimetres on this side. Dig out our paths, get rid of all this grass that's grown in the last 3 months, and we can start getting this shaped and looking the way that I have envisaged. I'm going to reposition all these big tufts of grass into the backyard where the veggie mix is and we can't grow any grass. So a little bit of a transplanting of turf, which is amazing. It's getting there. A lot less barren looking than what it used to. Got the wheelbarrow stocked up with a couple of supplies, some plants, 2 celery plants, and the straw to put on top as mulch, which was from the straw bales that we grew the sweet potatoes in. I've got some oregano that we've grown from the seeds of the oregano that died back during the winter. I've put some pizza thyme in just as little cuttings. Not sure if they've actually grown any roots, so we'll find out when we actually take this apart. Also, I did quite a few cuttings of rosemary. I know 2 of them have rooted, but I'm not sure if this pot has. And also just some normal common thyme as well in here. This guy I was looking at, there's actually some sea celery in here, which is an Australian native plant. So I thought, let's pull this out, see if I can potentially just cut away one of these little tufts of the curly parsley. We have the flat leaf parsley, but then we can remove this sea celery and yeah, put this in our garden as well. Have these formed? Yeah, it looks like they have. Well, that's exciting. as the sun sets for the evening. I'm really happy with this. It's so cute. I just placed the sign there for now. We'll dig it in later, but here's how it turned out. We'll clean it up a bit more tomorrow. But just to quickly recap what we put in here. So everything is edible. Alyssums, oregano, chives, pizza thyme, rosemary, the Australian native sea celery, curly parsley, viola in the middle there. And then on this side, more violas, dill, a couple of the coloured or rainbow silver beets, flat leaf parsley on the corners so that's nice and accessible for people to be able to grab. Some common thyme is in there. And celery here. And then just repeats on this side. So cute! Love it. So the secret is finally out. As you can see, we did a community garden. Just a little area out the front of our home where people can go and grab some parsley, basil, coriander, anything that they could possibly want for their dinner for that night, instead of going to the shops and paying $3 or $4 for a little bunch of those herbs that die within a couple of days. We've also added some celery, and I'm hoping to put some lettuce in, just trying to do anything that's like a cut and come again crops where you don't have to like remove the whole plant, but you can just grab what you need for your culinary creations. It came about all because of this. At the end of the last summer, autumn season, my son and I collected a whole heap of seeds from a lot of the flowers that we had. It's actually quite funny because I just went to Bunnings and there was a lady in there saying to her husband, get the marigolds. And I was like, please come to my house. I have that many marigolds. It's not even funny. Like there is literally probably thousands, tens of thousands, if not millions of seeds in here. And these are just two of like, we've got 3 more of these. So we collected all of these at the end of last season. And I thought, well, instead of just having all these lying around, why don't we put like a little library out the front and people can come and grab, and if they want to add their own seeds if they have any, but just grab anything that we potentially have collected from the garden. So that's how the seed library came about. And what I've done is I just grabbed, this is literally a very cheap, I don't even know how much this was, maybe $12 from Bunnings, plastic, nothing special, but it's just a letterbox that I've done in the opposite direction so that when you open it up, you've got all your seeds in there. So we're going to have 3 sections for herbs, veggies, and flowers. And some of these I've actually created just from a document that I found on Etsy. So they're just some of the ones we took from some photos before the flowers were gone for the season. And it's just got a little bit of a description of, you know, what they are and how tall they grow. And then for some of the other ones that I don't need to put like a picture on because they're just self-explanatory, I just got some generic seed packets. And then I've got some gorgeous little sayings that I'm going to put in and just rotate these every couple of weeks or so. And this one says, to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow, which is a famous quote from Audrey Hepburn. But I've got some amazing other ones on Etsy. I'm just keeping my eye on them. So when they go on special, I will grab those. But there's some real funny ones, some quite informative ones, and just some nice ones to sort of think about life in general, I suppose. So that's my little contribution to my street. So our new seed library. When I decided to do this, I had the original thought of just putting it on the fence, and then it became very apparent that we actually don't have any space to put on the fence. So then the next thing was, do we put it on a post and do we put it somewhere? But we really didn't have space for that either. Then I was like, well, I could put it on the nature strip tree. However, we didn't want to attach it to the tree permanently because obviously we didn't want to damage the tree and put it under any undue stress. So my husband came up with this amazing concept where he's actually just placed a square of timber around the trunk and then put the nails to be able to attach this to the tree. and then I can take it in and out at night so that it won't get stolen. Look, it may get stolen. I'm not under any disillusion that, you know, this might be a really good thing that people like. It might be something that is not of interest. So, hey, we're going to give it a go. And then when I thought, okay, if we put it on the tree, why don't we have a little area where people can go and grab some bits and bobs for dinner for the night? So that's where the community garden came to fruition. So I'll go through all of the things that we've planted so far. We're going to add to it. Obviously, we've got all the basil seeds that have germinated. Oh my goodness. The smell of basil, it's so good. So I can't wait to get some of those out there. Maybe some coriander as well. It is in a full sun position. That may change with the sun getting higher in the sky now that we're going into summer again. So I'll just keep an eye on it. But I think it's just such a fun thing. The kids got involved in it. And the best part was, and this was the proviso, everything is free. So everything we've put in there are seeds that we either collected from plants ourselves. We propagated some of the herbs by just putting them in some soil and waiting for them to root. And then we also have had a few things self-seed throughout the garden that we've just dug up and, you know, replanted in there. So everything is free. The only things that I've paid for is obviously the letterbox, but didn't spend much money on that. The templates, you know, templates for this, I think that was a couple of dollars. I did put the leftover, I had like a little mulch, which I had put throughout the garden bed, but it all sort of blew away and started to decompose quite quickly. So I had left some of that aside for the little pathway that we put in. I did realize that that probably wasn't going to last very long, or didn't really define that you could walk through there. Maybe when we tell the neighbours about the fact that they can come and grab some seeds and also some plants, that might make a bit more sense. But I did put some stones down, which I did pay for today. So that is one thing that I had to spend some money on. But before I did that, it actually was all free. Now we're going to go and plant up our very first freebies that we're going to give our neighbours, which are some of the capsicums. I was going to put all different varieties in the different pots. However, I've decided that I'm just going to put, because I've got a lot of 3 sort of snacking peppers, which was, I think there was a red one. There's a teardrop red one, which is slightly different. I would have loved a yellow one, but the yellow ones didn't germinate. And then there's the little chocolate mini bell ones as well. So I thought if we just put the 3, and then everybody can just grab one of those little pots each, and then they've got 3 different snacking capsicums to be able to enjoy. That are obviously acclimatized to our microclimate, which I think is amazing. Now, very quickly, I just filmed the making of the pots that we're going to put these in. And then I decided to quickly put them out for the day to get their local dose of air so that they get nice and strong stems. And we have 60-kilometre winds out there at the moment. That's why I'm filming this inside, because it is just way too gusty at the moment. Very uncomfortable, which is a little bit sad for my little plants that I just put in last night also, that they're having to deal with this. But these plants literally were out there for 5 minutes and they have already started to turn their leaves. I know that they will be fine. I know that they'll recover, but not great. So I'm not going to put them out until the wind settles down a little bit, because I don't want them to get completely and utterly decimated in this wind. But yes, I thought let's just put one of each in the pots, and I think that'll be really cute. So the kids have been helping me make these little pots just from some newspaper. So I'm just going to quickly show you how we've been doing it. We're going to start repotting a lot of these. These are obviously all of the seeds that we saved from the chilies and peppers and capsicums last year. So we've got multitudes of them. We do not need this many plants. So what I did is I basically just found that a toilet roll, or this is the inside of a paper towel, was the perfect size for this. So I just sort of marked where I would like the size of our little pots to be. And you just grab your half a newspaper. So I just cut them down the center, fold them in half. Then with the folded edge, I basically reinforce it by just folding it down a little bit here. Turn it to the side. I line the folded edge with my line on my guide. and roll her up. I learnt this from Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch. She was doing big ones of these, and then you just basically just shove that end inside the tube and then pull it off, and there's your little pot. And then you can plant that directly into the ground and it'll just decompose over time. So we'll do one more. We don't really get newspapers anymore in Australia. So these are the Chemist Warehouse magazines that they give you. Rolly, rolly. And then just push that inside and slide her off. And there's our little pots. Now you might think, why not just use some toilet rolls? You can, but obviously they're empty at one end, which means that if you put soil in these, it is going to just fall straight through. There is a way that you can do it. If you put these in water, so if you submerge these in water, that will then make them pliable to just sort of push that end in so that you've got a bottom to your toilet roll. Different companies have different toilet rolls. So Kleenex and Quilton, you can see the Quilton one is much smaller in diameter and doesn't have the sticky bits. So that's an option for you if you've got plenty of those and you want to use those as an alternative, but we quite like those. They're quite fun to put together and really easy, and obviously will disintegrate a lot faster than what these will. I'm just going to fill these homemade pots up. I've put my favourite mix of mushroom compost, coco pith, but I've also added some worm castings just to give a little bit of nutrients into these. So hopefully that gives them a little bit of a better start to their life. Also decided that I've got heaps of these Jimmy Nardellos, so I might as well do those as well, and then people can grab 2 pots if they like. And I think I'm just doing 7 of each from memory. I love these clear containers because you can see like all the, you probably can't see on the video, but you can see all the root structure, which I think is just incredible. I find this style of watering can is really handy for these little pots because you can sort of direct it right in there. They don't last long because they're obviously just made out of newspaper, so that is the benefit of having the toilet rolls. They are a lot more robust than what these ones are, but just being able to direction that in, I find is much better than a watering can. Thank you for coming on this little community garden adventure with us. If you've got any ideas as to any other plants that we should perhaps add to the garden, let me know in the comments down below. You have the most amazing day ahead, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.